when you have a totalitarian regime, you have to save face. I would just emphasize the success of the strike that took place on Saturday night.
Of all the things that absolutely Karoline Leavitt is, I had no idea that brutal murderer was among them. Until yesterday, during the White House press briefing, in public, on display to the United States and by extension the world, because it was broadcast, she murdered irony. I know a lot of you hate it when I laugh at my own jokes, but man, that's a banger, right? She killed irony dead. She murdered it on full display. She had the audacity to say with her mouth that when you have, she was speaking about Iran, but this could just as easily play for Donald Trump, that when you have a totalitarian regime, you have to save face. I think that any common sense, open-minded person knows the truth about the precision strikes on Saturday night. They were wildly successful, she says, trying to save face for the authoritarian regime she currently works for. It is just, how erotically can you make a chef's kiss? That is good stuff, right? So here she is saying this with a straight face, and then we'll get to why exactly it is her trying to save face.
The president wants people to be hired in the workforce because of their merit and their skill, and I think most Americans agree with that. I'll take one more. Carrie, because I promised you earlier.
So the Ayatollah Khomeini came out and said that Iran will, quote, never surrender to the U.S. That being said, what remains to do with the possible responses from Iranian proxies in the region and even in the U.S.?
Look, we saw the Ayatollah's video, and when you have a totalitarian regime, you have to save face. I think any common sense, open-minded person knows the truth about the precision strikes on Saturday night. They were wildly successful, and it's what led to the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran, which the president is very grateful for, and the United States of America remains prepared to defend our assets and our personnel in the region. And again, I would just emphasize the success of the strike that took place on Saturday night, and the world is a safer place because of it. Thanks, guys, for coming today, and you'll see the president at 4 o'clock. Thanks.
I got two things I want to talk about here that I do believe are important. One is this refrain, this constant beating of the drum that Donald Trump and the United States of America remains prepared to defend our assets and our personnel in the region. They're so committed to the prospect of defending our assets and personnel in the region that Donald Trump, as I spoke about yesterday, consorted with Iran, coordinated with Iran on exactly what time to fire dozens of missiles at U.S. bases, in an effort to protect our assets, like she said, and our personnel.
But it's vital that this additional money be spent on very serious military hardware, not bureaucracy, and hopefully that hardware is going to be made in America because we have the best hardware in the world. You saw that where 14 missiles were shot at us the other day. And they were very nice. They gave us warning. They said, we're going to shoot them. Is 1 o'clock okay? They said, it's fine. And everybody was emptied off the base, so they couldn't get hurt except for the gunners. They call them the gunners. And out of 14 high-end missiles that were shot at the base in Qatar, all 14, as you know, were shot down by our equipment. Amazing stuff. Amazing that they can do. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet. It's the same thing if you think about it. 14 out of 14, and they weren't even that surprised.
Yeah. It is, again, erotic chef's kiss. I'm not going to do it again. And then the other thing about the saving face is that now we know because of the intelligence assessment, now we know because of the briefing in the United States Senate yesterday at Congress, that absolutely we didn't obliterate. We only set the nuclear program back by maybe a few months. But that flies in the face of the safe phasing, the face saving, wow, the face saving but put on by Donald Trump. Look, I called this Sunday. I called this when they made the statement about complete annihilation and obliteration. I said, look, this is going to be a problem for them because now they have nowhere to go. If it's completely obliterated, all future military action will be completely unjustified. And remember, this is what Pete Hegseth said.
Last night on President Trump's orders, U.S. Central Command conducted a precision strike in the middle of the night against 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, in order to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will demonstrate, it was an incredible and overwhelming success. The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people. For the entirety of his time in office, President Trump has consistently stated for over 10 years that Iran must not get a nuclear weapon. Full stop. Thanks to President Trump's bold and visionary leadership and his commitment to peace through strength, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated.
Obliterated! Total success. And Donald Trump as well.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Complete, total obliteration. Saving face. This was preemptive saving face. But when you have a totalitarian regime, you have to save face. You're right, Karoline. You're right. I don't think you know just how right you are. She does, for sure. Anyway, what do you think? I would appreciate your feedback on this. You can comment below. That'll help the algorithm to share this content with new, unsuspecting viewers. We're going to get them, right? You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work. You can become a channel member for $2 a month. Click the join button below. You can also go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. If you're in the mood to check out something else, Brittany Page and I were on the Dangerous Ones podcast with Nick and Jim and Tiffany. Great people. They do a wonderful job. They have a fantastic show. And we talked a little bit more in detail about the rape and death threat from a Donald Trump supporter against Brittany Page. Nobody's threatening to rape Donald Trump. And just a standard run-of-the-mill murder threat against me by a Trump supporter again. And we went into detail about what went into our decisions to spare this man and his family, the onslaught from the audience members who are passionate enough to take up for us. We talked about it for a while, and I think you will enjoy the episode. Go subscribe to their channel in an effort to support independent media. A rising tide lifts all boats. The better that we all do, it includes all of us, it's better for everybody. Anyway, fantastic show. I would advise you watch it and subscribe to their channel. Follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore just about everywhere. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Save face. Take care of one another. There's been plenty of coverage about how Trump's big, beautiful bill would disembowel Medicaid. But did you catch the subtext? MAGA loyalists slid into it, providing a legal loophole that could effectively make Trump untouchable. This bill would stop federal judges from enforcing any court order against the executive branch unless you first pay a bond potentially so high most Americans wouldn't be able to pay it. So if this bill passes and Trump then violates the law, repercussions would likely be muted at the very best. This is the GOP's playbook in action. Create chaos in the headlines for people to focus on, while actual authoritarian decisions are being ushered through under the radar. We need more visibility on items such as this, especially when there is so much day-to-day chaos in the news. That's why I use Ground News. It is a remarkably helpful tool at looking at topics from multiple angles and for exposing blind spots that might otherwise slip past your everyday news consumption. Ground News is the only app and site built to pull in news from across the globe and then break down the bias and credibility of each source. You can also use Ground News' browser extension when you're reading news elsewhere to flag the bias of a source and link to other credible reports to cross-reference the information. Ground News is simply a better way to stay informed. No algorithms, no echo chambers, no blind spots. Scan this QR code or head to ground.news/Dollemore now to score 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use, which gives you unlimited access for just $5 per month. You can also click the link in the description below to save. We have another 3.5 years of this insanity, and the right is counting on you to be distracted. See all the news with Ground News.